Welcome everybody down to the Paddock, and we're in the Historics section for this bit of the Paddock show. Nice and quiet at the moment, but we'll have a bit of a wander around and chat with some people. The Historics demonstration, part of the British Historic Kart Club, always a great part of a Shenington SuperPrix event. Really looking forward to the karts being out on circuit later today. In fact, it'll be the first bit of on-track action that you'll be seeing here on the Alpha live stream. They're also going through one of their concourses at the moment, so it's not just about driving the karts and demonstrating them out on circuit, but also about preparing them and presenting them in all their glory here today at Shenington. And details about the British Historic Kart Racing Club on the websites as well. I think it's about time that we go and ask some questions of some folks and see what's happening with some of the karts here today. Just step in and have a chat with our fellow on the end. Morning, sir. What's your name? How are you from?
Stuart Ridge. I'm from Ross-on-Wye.
Tell us a little bit about the kart that you're working on here.
Well, it's an Anderson 250 single Yamaha YZ engine. That's all I really know about it. It's 1980s-ish, and it's just one I use for fun.
How did you first get involved in historic karting?
Well, I did speed hill climbing for 40 years. That got stupid money, so I decided to come into a cheaper sort of sport, and that's how I really got involved with Paul Gunter with the Dinos and that lot. He lives locally, so I went to see him and he put me in touch. I've got this kart and another kart down there.
What's the circuit like to drive in the older machinery?
It's nice compared to some of the tighter circuits we do. This is nice and open, long straights, and yeah, it's a bit of fun. Did you
run yesterday afternoon?
No, I'm a dry weather driver. Unfortunately, I don't mind the wet, but if I get wet today, you go home tomorrow. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck. Hope it all runs well out there, and we'll see you out there later on.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Very good to say. I love these Dino karts. They all almost look unworldly sometimes, out of a different planet at times, and they go like they're from a different planet as well. But let's head inside the tent, because that's where the main group of activity is today here in the Historics Paddock. But also what I love about this part of the show and part of the SuperPrix is that the sheer range. We talked about this with Gary Priest yesterday in an interview that you'll no doubt see at some point during the show here today, of even the karts that we're seeing out on circuit for the modern day classes. They one day will become historic in their own right. So as the years go on, the range of karts that we see in terms of years, it's just getting wider and wider and wider and more varied as they go along. As I say, we've got plenty of bits of gear here all the way back from the early 1960s. Typically now karts that are in the Historic Kart Club are up to the late 90s. We've got some stuff off from the era of Jenson Button, for example, when he was racing these kind of machines in the late 90s. But let's have a further chat with some of the drivers here in the paddock and see how things are going today. I'm going to pick on this chap here. How are we doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Duncan Harland. I live in Norfolk these days.
Are you planning to drive today out here?
No, I was, but I built a kart up through the year, but I haven't been too well lately, so I can't drive. I used to drive years ago, in the 60s, 70s.
What brought you to the Historic Kart Club? What was its appeal?
Boredom. No, really, I always stayed in touch with various karting people, and this appeared every year, the historic things. I came along, and I thought, this is good, this is interesting. I joined the club, and then spoke to the people running it, and they wanted content for the magazine, and I had lots of stories from back in my day, so I wrote stories and they were published in the magazine, So yeah, that's how I really got back into it. And I come up only once a year. I go to the odd historic meeting, but I always try and get here.
What is it about Shenington that appeals as well as it be one of the biggest events of the year?
Well, we used to race. There used to be this annual race, a 6-hour race. So I knew Shenington from back in the day, and it's a good place to have this sort of event because of the size of the place. Also, you've got the mix of the modern stuff, so people like me who don't really follow the modern stuff get to see it.
And in terms of anyone wanted to look to get involved, what would your recommendations be for anyone
To be
getting?
honest, I couldn't advise because I don't know all the ways in and out these days, and I don't even understand the classes because I've not really, sounds bad, but I've not had the interest in the new stuff. Because, again, I don't want to be controversial, but I think karting to a degree has lost a lot of its appeal from the simplicity that it used to be when it started. It's got to be more of a big business these days. So being an old established karter, I see things from a different point of view. I'm not putting today's racing down.
That's fair enough. But no, have a good day today, and looking forward to seeing the karts out on circuit for the historics.
Lovely.
Very good. Let's see who else we can have a discussion with. As I say, we were in here yesterday for preparing for the meeting, and pick on these gents here if they don't mind. Morning. How are we doing?
Not bad, how are you?
Very good, very good. Enjoying being here in the historics. Are you driving with the historics today?
Absolutely not, mate, no. Not at all, not at all.
Just down here for a bit of a peruse?
Yeah, we're here with Jake Weston and KZ. Yeah. So that's why we're here. We've just got a couple of hours to kill, so we thought we'd have a look.
What's your general making of the historics and having a look back at previous years? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think the display is brilliant. I think some of the engineering on the car, especially the full suspension thing, is just crazy. Yeah, so it's I think things have got a lot safer, which is definitely obviously a positive. I wouldn't fancy driving one myself, but no, I think the kit that they've got is brilliant. Yeah, it's a great display. I think they've put obviously a big effort into getting everything here.
Very good. Well, have a good day, and we'll see Jake as well out on a circuit later on. Have a chat here with. Morning, how are we doing? What's your name? Where are you from?
Peter Miles, I'm from Malvern, Worcestershire.
Is this your kart next to us?
My kart. It's a studio kart. It was made originally in 1960. It's unique because it's got suspension.
I was going to say, we don't see many karts with suspension and coil spring suspension.
There are very few with suspension, and this was in the early days of manufacturing karts, of course. They were originally made in '59. They tried this one out, and a couple of years later they banned them because they were too quick.
How did you first come of the karts? How long have you been working on it?
I bought it 16 years ago, and last night I was still finishing it off to bring it to this show. I bought it 16 years ago from Race Retro at Stoneleigh. It was literally a bag of bits on the back of a pickup truck. Got all the history of it there in the books, but won't bore you with all those at the moment. But the only information I had was what we see on there was a kart magazine in 1960, so I can date it to the magazine. But absolutely unique. There isn't another one in the world.
How many hours would you say a year go into the upkeep?
The upkeep, not much. I mean, I don't race it. There isn't a plan to race it. It's more of a demonstration, but I've put a lot of hours into it. I hate to think how many, and I daren't tell my wife.
Well, very good. I would say it's an absolutely beautiful machine. Good colour as well, British Racing Green.
Well, that was a nod to the fact that the people who built it originally had connection with Lotus. And the same people who built the Lotus chassis in that time built that chassis there.
Very good. I say you got the yellow on there as well, but no, that's an absolutely beautiful machine, and hope to see it here at Shenington for many more years to come.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you for your time. I say we'll head back out of the tent now. Say good morning to Gary. We had a chat with yesterday as well. Let's see if we can find any other bits further round the corner. I think we had another couple of carts round the corner here, and what do you know, right now the carts aren't there. We'll do one more quick little look down into the paddock. I think we've got some more of the older generation back into the 60s and 70s machines down here being prepared. As I say, the carts were filming this in the morning, but the carts will be heading out on circuit later on this evening. So the beauty of some of these machines, we're having a quick look at one of the quite a few DAP carts here this weekend, of course made very famous in the 1970s by the late great Ayrton Senna, of course, amongst many others. Say work going on our machine here. It's all right to step in, have a quick chat. How do you do? What's your name? Where are you from?
Tony Barkus. I'm Lichfield base. Home circuit used to be Chasewater, which is now long gone.
And tell us a little bit about the kart that you're working on here.
This one is Sicily Cobra from the 70s. Driver today is going to be a guy called Reg Gange. Don't know whether you know Reg Gange, do you?
No, I don't know Reg personally.
Well, very successful driver in his day.
Yeah.
He's wrong side of 50 now by a long way, but decides he wants to have a go in a Class 1. So we've provided him with one.
How many hours do you reckon have gone into preparing the kart today?
20 for the kart. And then the engine, from the basis to the fully tuned version, probably 16 hours.
And everything running well? Did it run yesterday?
No, it didn't run yesterday. We only turned up today.
Right.
I'm a fair weather person.
So fairly foul weather yesterday here at Shenington. What is it about Shenington as well that makes this one special?
Particularly for Bob. This is Bob Haynes, by the way. This was synonymous in our era, really, from the 70s. This, Rissington, Fulbeck, Wanwell. How many others, Bob? Rye House, Tilbury. It was all from our era, really, and there's not many of the originals left, you know, so it's nice to come along, really, to take part.
What I quite like about this circuit, I've driven it myself, is that it's still got that feel as well. It's not been over-modernised like some circuits.
Over-modernised. It hasn't been over-modernised, and the thing is, if you're not knocking any circuit, because circuits are great to have, but if you go with these to somewhere like PF, it's not really designed for these, it's designed more for the modern kart. Although these do go round it well, it's a bit long, I would say, for us, Bob, isn't it, really?
The old circuit of PF is much better for these karts.
You know, but it's, listen, we're grateful for any circuit, you know. I mean, have you been up to Lark Hall?
I haven't made it up to Lark Hall for a while, but it's definitely on my list.
Yeah, well, Lark Hall's, now they've improved it even more. Somebody's spending a lot of money. And like with most things, you know, without the investment, it disappears. I mean, there's talk about Cardiff. Landau closing, but I don't know whether it is or it isn't. But that's the new version of Landau. The old version from the 70s is further down the road, which was on the old airfield.
Indeed. Well, as I say, it's great to have you here, and hope you have a good day.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
We'll see you again later on. Really good stories there. And let's say, it's one of the things I do genuinely love about Shenington. Mind yourself there, Luke. Not just because it's 15 minutes from my house, but it's that element of it hasn't changed. Obviously, there have been improvements over the years, but it hasn't changed too much. Who have we got, Gary?
I want you to just have a word with Tim Paddock. Come on, Tim!
We'll have a chat with Tim. Tim, morning. How are we doing?
I'm good, thanks.
You driving today?
No. Just helping a friend with an old retro kart we have.
Tell us a little bit. Is the number 9 behind us? What have we got here?
So for the people that really know about it, it's a 1972 Tayfun. We think it's what they call a Brignol chassis, made famous by a Belgian Francois Goldstein, who won, I think, 5 world championships when karts were karts, men were men, and sheep were frightened. They used Perilla motors and Comet motors. Sound of best one. Yeah, it's a kart that we put on a modern day slick, a Dunlop slick. There's a little intro class being done for them called Class 1B, which is being done by a chap called Nick Blow. But it's just us sad old gits going back to our going back to our youth, really. Dave Mellish, who's driving it today, he did the Junior World Championships with me back in 1979, so we go back quite a way. I went off to do a gearbox, he stayed in 100cc karting. But yeah, I just love looking at all the old karts, and some people do absolutely gorgeous restorations. I like to see a kart running, so mine aren't cosmetically beautiful, but they're mechanically sound. But yeah, I just love that old type of it. And then a lot of people here have got gearbox karts and that going back to the 60s. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's great. I just love it to bits.
Did it run yesterday, or was it another one that we kept for the good weather today?
No, absolutely ran like a baby, fine. No problems with it whatsoever. We've just had another old spec engine delivered for it today, so we're going to try that next weekend. But yeah, people think it's quite frightening because people think it's ever so cheap. But yeah, you can pick a kart up so cheap, but then you've literally got to strip it, completely restore it. And the engines now, because the modern day engine technology, you can't get the old parts for the old engines, so you end up putting a new part in, and it improves it, gives it more revs, more performance, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, we can do this even better. So yeah, I love it to bits. Yeah, it's great.
Let's have a chat with
I want to ask him a question. Ask him, has he had any reasonably good results at all? He doesn't he's quite shy about this, but ask him the question.
What have your results been, Tim? How have you done in the past?
33 years ago, I did win a couple of championships. So the kart over there, the Kodak kart, I won the World SuperKart Championships on that back in 1990. And the year before, I was world champion. So I was the first person to win it 2 years on the trot. But yeah, it's just a total world of difference. So that's what I started in 1973, 74, and that's what I finished in 1990. But yeah, we'll go over and have a look.
And in terms of, so you're not driving today, how does it feel when you see such a beautiful machine as this still out there on circuit running today?
If I could fit in it, I would probably have a drive. But yeah, as with everything else, 30 odd years ago, yeah, I mean, you're looking at 168 mile an hour there around Thruxton. We used to race Silverstone, Thruxton. The World Championship was Assen in Holland, then Silverstone, and then finished at Le Mans. Yeah, absolutely the best years of my life, but just the commitment and everything. And as you can see, you had to go out and sell yourself. So, it was that bit was as hard. People say, and a lot of Formula One drivers say, getting there is the easy bit. Staying there is like, oh, that is a hard bit. But yeah, I had the best years of my life in this. But my dad had driven gearbox karts before me back in the 60s, and he got me into the hundreds, and then we moved into the gearbox around about 1980s, and then gradually worked your way up. But yeah, I had a fantastic time, and it's crazy because we were just talking with one of the other chaps this morning. So a second-hand kart back in 1984, complete kart and engine, very similar to what you see there, would have been £1,500. Now the modern day version of the engine alone is 15,000. And then you've got, I don't know, what's the chassis now? Are they £3-4 grand now? So that in a modern day version is probably £20,000 worth of go-kart, as people call them. I hate that word. Again, what the 100cc we call karts, these we used to call superkarts. Then they became Formula E, and now modern day Formula E is those bloody awful electric things, ain't it?
Indeed. Yeah. In terms of, say, the sponsors, well, how did you get them on board back in the day?
Sore knees, grovelling, a lot of hard work, a lot of contacts. So I was lucky in that a friend of mine worked for Kodak, so that's how we made the initial introduction. Kelgate were the firm that had sponsored me 3 years before that, and they had been absolutely fantastic. They made brakes and accessories. Shell, same again. It's just knowing someone who knows someone, and you ring up, and you've just got to sell yourself. But yeah, I think my whole sponsorship for that year, I think I would say I had maybe £18,000 worth of sponsorship. I got a lot of free products, etc., etc. And at the end of the year, I still had like a credit card that was like, ooh, we need to get that cleared. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. Best years of my life. I wouldn't, you can't buy memories, as people say. Yeah. And it's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
We've been asking the questions to a couple of people. For anyone watching at home who might want to get involved in historic karting, where's best for them to start, do you reckon?
There's a series called Retro Racer. it's good because it goes from sort of ground level 11-year-old kids up to 60, 70-year-old fellas who just want to relive the youth. It's fantastic. There's some very cost-effective classes in there. Yeah, but I would start off with the retro. There's a few sort of spin-off series, but the retro series is massively, massively friendly. People like Gary who've done their own 125 class in it, you know, it's fantastic. If it wasn't for the enthusiasm and hard work of people like Gary, then, you know, the series would have probably disappeared. But it is gaining popularity. They only have sort of 6 or 7 meetings a year, which leaves you open just to be able to go out and do general testing. You know, there's quite a few circuits around the country that allow you to turn up with your own 2-stroke kart when they haven't got corporate sessions out, push out and just learn. It's like kicking a football. The best way to control a football is to kick it every single day. Yeah. If you could live in a kart 7 days a week, you would be so much more confident with it. God knows what your bank account would be like, but it's like anything else. You know, the people that have been successful will tell you, get your bum in the seat and get out there, and you know that's the best way to learn. But there are so many. The indoor karting, I used to hate the indoor karting bit, but the indoor karting now can be good just for nurturing that skill. You know, developing whatever you've got.
Absolutely. Well, we won't keep you any more, Tim. Tim, thanks for your time. Gary, thanks once again as well. And we'll wrap things up there for our first part of the paddock walk here today at Shenington. Great to have a peruse around the historic kart club paddock here. We'll see them running out later on this afternoon and hope you can be with us for that here on Alpha Live.